All right, let's go through our big draft day surprises. I'll start us off here. First one, Andrew Billings. The Bengals got him in the 4th round, number 122, Buck. And I get it. He's not a great pass rusher. I know in the league, it's a passing league. We want guys that can get after the quarterback. The 4th round for this kid, I thought he was better than that. He's one of those deals where throughout the process, you're like, hey, you know, he might be a little bit overrated because I hear him talked about his top 15. He's not that. He's like a bottom 1, maybe early 2 guy. But, man, in the 4th round, I did not see him dropping that far.
You know, it made me go back. Like, after day 2, I was like, let me go back and look at the tape. Like, was I off on this guy? Yeah, because I had this guy as a top 20 prospect on my board. And I know the thing that I learned coming out of this draft, nose tackles, I need to make sure that when a guy is a nose tackle or a run stuffer, like, you probably want to take him down a little bit just because of the value. Teams don't value that as much. But this is a guy that was very athletic, big man, strong man.
Got some range.
Powerlifting champion, all that other stuff. Has some range, plays hard. You check off all the boxes. That doesn't say 4th round pick. And so, to me, I don't know if the rest of the league overthought it. I don't know if it was just one of those things that sometimes happens on draft day. Other teams have taken guys, you just don't value him the same. For him to land in the 4th round was one of the biggest surprises that I saw.
All right, that was the first one. Second one, the Niners trading back into the 1st round for Josh Garnett. I did not see that coming, especially when they traded back up in there. I thought maybe, okay, they're going to take a Fetty ahead of Seattle. And I know some people would suggest, well, they got to take Garnett ahead of the Seahawks. I gave Josh Garnett a 3rd-round grade. And to me, look, he's a strong kid, but you see him finishing that play on the ground. You see him on the ground a lot when you watch him. I don't think he's a great athlete. He's got some power to him. But, man, there was other guy. Cody Whitehair, to me, I'll take him all day long. So to trade back in for a guard in and of itself was surprising, but the fact that traded back in for Josh Garnett was doubly surprising to me.
That's a double surprise. And then when you look at Josh Garnett, because you're always trying to figure out fit in scheme. And I wonder, like with Chip Kelly, he always can obviously change his scheme. He can do different things. But the scheme that they ran in Philadelphia, those guys had to be athletic. You had to be able to move, climb to the 2nd level. This is a mauler brawler, a guy that wants to kind of beat you up, up in a phone booth. And so maybe it's a situation where maybe they're changing. Maybe they're going to be a power scheme in San Francisco, something that Chip is able to adapt to. But on paper, it didn't look like a great marriage. And the value at the bottom of the 1st round, I just didn't grade Josh Garnett as a talent like that.
All right, my 3rd one, JARRAN Reed. And we talk about Billings a little bit similar here with Reed, although I thought Reed was a far superior player. He goes 49 to Seattle in the 2nd round. I had him as my 13th overall player. This is a guy that dominates against the run. Not a good run defender, a dominant run defender. And I think he has – I know the sack numbers aren't there. He doesn't get as many opportunities to rush because they put different people on the field there at Alabama. I think he has a little bit of upside there. But, man, you put him in this Seattle front and let him occupy and let everybody else hunt, this is a great fit for him.
No, I think it is a great fit for him. And I'm also surprised. I mean, we talk about guys. He goes in the 2nd round. Ashawn Robinson goes in the 2nd round. Andrew Billings goes in the 4th round. Talking about guys who put up some dominant performances throughout their time in college. The fact that he is in the 2nd round, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, to be able to get a guy of this caliber at that situation and then to put him into that rotation, that deep and talented rotation that they have to be ecstatic because they lose Brandon Mebane and they get a more athletic, a younger, a more imposing specimen to play that 0 position.
He was one of the more consistent players that I studied, regardless of position, just all day long. You know exactly what you're going to get. Never saw bad tape. Everybody has bad tapes. I never really saw bad tape with him.
No, and then when he came in here, his ability to just
got a great personality.
What he does, how he brings it at the point of attack. I just think that he is a guy that's on the come. I think we'll look back at his draft and say, man, how did JARRAN Reed fall to the 2nd round?
All right, give me your surprises here, Buck.
So my biggest surprise, the first one is the Dallas Cowboys taking JAYLON Smith at 34. I was surprised just because a lot of time I think I just kind of thought that everyone thought that Miles Jack would be the first one of those two to go just because of the medical situation. But the Cowboys did their due diligence. They had some insider information because their doctor operated on JAYLON Smith. And so it made sense. 2nd round pick, you're still trying to bank on a starter. Even if he's not available this year, next year, if he comes back to form, we talked about this guy being, without question, a top 5 talent, one of the top 2 or 3 players in the draft when it comes to making plays. Tremendous value pick, a tremendous player. And so for me, I give them credit for saying, look, if we're going to gamble big because if we hit on JAYLON Smith, we're talking about a guy that could be a Pro Bowl player at the next level.
That's my favorite video from the draft weekend, by the way, showing him get that phone call, and he looks down and says, it's Texas or it's Dallas. He thought, okay, maybe, he almost didn't even believe it when he saw the number come up. And then the look on the face of the woman behind him, she's kind of looking at her phone, looking. All of a sudden, she just looks up and her eyes get big, like, whoa! This is going down right now. I love that. Such a cool scene, and man, I hope it works out for him health-wise because he's a freak. He would have been probably my number 2 overall player. I gave him and Larry Tunsil the same grade, the highest graded players that I had on tape. The injury, obviously, I dropped him out. I was told by several teams they were concerned about him playing again, so I didn't know where to stack him in my list. But, man, obviously the Cowboys, with their familiarity with the doc and all that, felt like he could eventually recover and be the guy he was in college. And I hope it all works out for him.
Huge advantage. He's a guy that they haven't had those kind of linebackers for a while, but a guy that can be a dominant playmaker, a difference maker on the second level. That was a huge surprise. Great pick to them. My second surprise would be something that we've talked about on air and off air. Cody Kessler going to the Cleveland Browns in the 3rd round. 93rd pick, and the fact that he's going to have the opportunity to compete with RG3. I was a little surprised because when you stack up our board of quarterbacks and the guys that were available, I just think that maybe I overlooked Cody Kessler being a guy that is in serious contention. When I've read the reports and I've heard things from Hugh Jackson, the thing that they liked about Cody Kessler was his leadership, his intangibles, the way that guys kind of gravitate to him, and his ability to kind of play in a pro-style offense and distribute the ball. The issue that he's going to have to really, prove, or the concern that I would have, in inclement conditions in Cleveland, coming off the lake, the wind, and all the weather that you have to deal with in the AFC North, can you get the ball out there? Can you drive it to the playmakers on the perimeter? Do you have enough arm strength to do it? And if you don't have arm strength, that means you have to play with superior anticipation and timing and touch. And in windy conditions, sometimes that can be a little different. We saw Chad Pennington be able to do it, but it's tough. It's rare that guys are able to make that transition, particularly for a cold weather team.
I'm with you on that one, Bucky. That's number 2 for you. Number 3, you've got another quarterback that kind of shocked you.
Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett going to the New England Patriots. And I know the Patriots kind of march to the beat of their own drum. They do things in an unorthodox and unconventional manner. This is a guy that was a solid player at NC State, but I didn't necessarily, because in my mind, third rounder, you're still thinking that this guy is a potential starter or whatever. So now I'm thinking Jacoby Brissett competing with Jimmy Garoppolo. Is that saying something about Jimmy G? Did they go back and get a quarterback Brissett this year, or what is it? So it just kind of leads to more questions in terms of the Patriots' thinking and mindset when it comes to their guy who has been anointed as the successor in Jimmy Garoppolo, more so than Jacoby Brissett. Smart player, tough player. Where does he fit in the mix?
They always do this, by the way. And every single year, I'm sure you field the same phone calls I do. What are they doing in New England? What are they doing? And then what happens is they end up winning, and so then people say, oh, they knew what they were doing. Like, not necessarily.
Tom Brady.
They're winning at a pretty good clip. But we sit here on the personnel side, what if they drafted well? What if they were given 12 more help?
Yeah.
What would this team be? And to me, there's always head scratches with New England. They'll take look at a lot of the picks they've had in these second and third rounds that have just completely flamed out and given them nothing. It's always baffling to me. But one thing they do, they've got 12 that can cover up a lot of stuff, and then you got a head coach that even though they might not have the best players, he can put them all together and make it work. Phenomenal at doing that. I just sit here and wonder what could be if they actually were drafting good players to go along with what they do.
We've seen what they're able to do when they really have a good team. They always hoist the Lombardi.
Yeah.
And even when they don't have necessarily great personnel on the field, they find a way to always be in contention, always in the mix. They're always deep into the tournament. Tom Brady and the head coach have mastered a lot of their flaws. It would be interesting when Tom Brady departs, how they're able to kind of continue to get it done or not get it done without the pieces that most teams need. They don't have enough ammunition normally to compete with some of the heavyweights, but they find a way to get it done.